Okay, we're about 15 minutes into this CD, and you haven't heard much about actual bridge yet, just some philosophy. Well, let's start with a little bit more philosophy, but I will mention some bridge conventions in this segment. First of all, my philosophy on conventions, as I've already touched upon, is that conventions are way overrated. Too many players think that conventions and learning conventions are a substitute for learning bridge, and they're not. And too many teachers are guilty of teaching conventions because it's easy to teach conventions. It doesn't take much work if you're a teacher to read up on some convention and make some lesson notes and lay out the convention for your students to study and memorize. But that's to me not a good use of your bridge learning time. Sure, there are some conventions which are important, and I'll mention them soon, but let me harp a little bit more on what is really a pet peeve of mine, this overuse of conventions. I think a lot of people just want to keep up with the Joneses. If the Joneses are playing Lebenssoul, then the Smiths need to learn Lebenssoul. But other than the four or five main conventions I'm about to talk about, I think it's really diminishing returns for most people to add some complicated list of conventions. The reason it's not good to add a lot of conventions is, first of all, they often cause more accidents than good. They'll come up, but either you'll make a mistake with it or your partner will make a mistake with it. You'll remember correctly and your partner won't, or vice versa. Or you'll abuse the convention, or you'll forget to discuss was it on an interference or by a passed hand. And it just in itself, conventions cause accidents. And until you've used them many times, it is not easy to use them correctly. So if you're serious about bridge and really want to study conventions and work at them with a partner and spend hours on them and play all the time and you want to add conventions, then go ahead, enjoy it, but it's a lot of work. For most people I teach, I think it's better to stick to the basics. Not only is it easier on your memory to only know a few conventions, but it will make it easier to play the game. It will be more enjoyable. Your head won't be stuffed with memorizing all of these complicated artificial bids. You won't have accidents at the table. It's going to be a much more pleasant session. You won't have your brain cluttered with all of these conventions that you're going to screw up, and you'll have your brain available to concentrate on what's really important, which is taking your tricks. So I recommend these conventions. Certainly, you need to be very familiar with all aspects of double, takeout doubles. Spend your time on learning all the ins and outs of takeout doubles. It's not even really a convention per se. It's certainly not alertable, but make sure you know when all doubles are takeout and the response is the same. Negative doubles, which we'll talk about later in this CD, are extremely important. I'd say it's the number one most important conventions. You need to know negative doubles. You're in a nutshell, your partner opens, they overcall, and you double. That's the negative double. And as I said, we'll have a section on that later on. That's the number one convention. So, negative doubles, takeout doubles, you have to know all about those. Spend your time learning negative and takeout doubles. Stamen, sure. I think most of you listening to this will know Stamen, and we'll have a little bit more on that later, along with Jacobi transfers and responding to one note trump, all going together in one package. And of course, you all probably are expecting the next words out of my mouth, which will be Blackwood, some sort of ace asking convention, and I'll have a separate section on that and something to do also with keycard Blackwood and my thoughts on that. So there you have it, pretty much negative and takeout doubles, stamen and transfers, some sort of ace asking. Maybe if you want me to throw in week two bids and feature over week two bids, maybe that would make my top four or five. If you want to learn more conventions, you can always go to my website, larryco.com, and I always have there a list of my top four conventions, the next four, the next four, the next four, and you can go down as far as you'd like. But I think for 95% of the people I teach, they'd be better off calling it a day and just working on these 4 or 5 conventions, which will be further discussed in this CD.